Okay, I think we're going to get started. Will I start right on time? Is it not right on time?
You're right on time.
Yes, right on time.
Aaron, am I right on time?
You're right on time.
Okay, welcome. Thank you all for coming today. We did this kind of state of the market update in June, and it was pretty well received. So I thought I would do it every 3 or 4 months. And as we approach the end of the year, I thought it was probably time for a little recap. I won't cover everything that I covered last time, but I will at some point duplicate some of those comments because I think that they're relative. You must understand my perspective of real estate is about this 20-year span that I've been in it. So I kind of focus on the period of growth from about the mid-90s, 1995, through today. And I look at it pretty seriously almost every day. I am going to keep most of my comments today to the single-family housing market. I'm not going to address the whole world, I'll comment on it from time to time. But predominantly our firm and our clients focus on single-family housing market, and that's where I will focus. Much like the world of politics, I refer to it as the best of times and the worst of times all together. Depends on the win sometimes is how we're really perceived in the real estate market. Perception is reality. My buyers and my sellers are driven by the headlines in the media. I have tried for 20 years to equate and get people to understand there's a difference. If sales are off 10% by number, it doesn't necessarily mean that the prices are off 10%. But the buyer, when they read that headline in the Chronicle and something's 800,000, they want to offer 700,000 because sales are off 10%. There's not necessarily the same correlation. Let's just go to the next slide. So for our basic perspective, I want us to kind of keep an idea of here is the headline and the MLS press release for September of 2016. And the Chronicle said it was cooling, whatever. HIR in this press release says that it eased or whatever. It's talking about the number of sales from September 2016 to 2015. And in reality, the number of those sales is 33 homes. We were off by 33 homes in September of 2016 compared to 2015. Just keep on going here. For the bulk of our comments, we focus inside the loop for the most part. So we're going to limit most of my comments to Area 9, which is north of I-10, all of the heights in Oak Forest, acres homes in that area. Area 16, the greater Montrose area. Area 17, West U, and all of Grace Heights in that area. We really focus on Area 4. This is the east side, east of downtown, BBVA Compass, Riverside Terrace, this sort of area. And then areas 22 and 23, Spring Branch and Memorial. The bulk of what I'm discussing is in that area. You will see that the MLS and the statistics are picking up Pearland and Cinco Ranch and the Woodlands, and they have every Trendmaker home and Darling home and all those sort of things. And I'm going to focus our comments in this section because this is where I predominantly think our buyers and sellers are interested in knowing about. So I just want to keep that in mind. And then the next slide. Growing trend in sales over the last 30 years, the number of sales and the price of those homes has fairly well risen. We have adjusted a little bit. We were on this rise. We were rising pretty well in 98, 99, kind of when I started my career. You got to remember, we had 9/11, a major catastrophe in the country, and we go through this emotional pause or whatever to figure out what's the impact of 9/11. My world was growing just fine afterwards till we get to the fall of Enron. And then we had an emotional component tied to what's the impact on Houston with the fall of Enron. We had growth after that period of time just fine. We're doing great in 5, 6, and 7. We're already softening a little by the time we had a hurricane and a major recession, of which we have the most extended period of time of not the most significant growth. So 8, 9, 10, 11 kind of periods of struggling. We get to 12. It's the first normal year we had in real estate since 2006 and 7, I think. And then we had what was tremendous growth in 12, 13, 14, and 15 until the fall of oil, which was last summer, the period of August through December. And I think I'll show you that is the worst period of time that we've had in quite a while. So August of 2015 through December of 2015, very hard to sell a house. Very hard to sell a house because people want to know the impact of dropping oil when it goes from 80 to 60 to 40 to 26. Nobody wants to buy Enron stock at 40 if it's going to 20. No one wants to buy a house for $1 million if they think they can get it for 900. They were willing to wait, and we were on this pause until people realized after Christmas there's more traffic than ever in the city of Houston. Every restaurant seems to have a line out the door. The hiking bike trails have never been more attractive. The city itself fairly resilient in 2016, as we will see. So that's kind of the mindset of where we're at. The very peak number of sales for us, for Martha Turner, and for HAR was July 2015. It's the peak number of sales. Okay? We've never had any more sales than July 2015. Keep going. Okay, so we go to what is the basic statistics for September and then year to date or whatever. So statistically, I'm saying we are flat. We were off 33 homes throughout the MLS, but consistently the average price increased and the median price increased, and they've increased consistently throughout the year. Now, here's our pause to say, I will tell you the townhouse condominium market is oversaturated. It is still in a decline. I think we have massive amounts of inventory. There's looming inventory, as we discussed last time. If I have 12 units on Summer Street, I only have 3 on the MLS. I don't want to put 12 on the MLS. I want to try and sell the 3, and then I'll add 3 more. So the looming inventory continues to be a problem in townhouse and condominiums, and in high-rises, and in country homes, and in land. Land in general is off about 20%. It's not significantly going to recover until there's total confidence in the single-family housing market drives everything else. Single-family house pricing has fairly well gone up, even in 2008, 9, 10, 11, because of supply and demand of both the labor and the commodity itself. I went to Kohler, Wisconsin in 2008. The only one buying toilets from Kohler, Wisconsin in 9, 10, and 11 was Texas. California wasn't buying any Kohler toilets, nor was Florida, nor was Arizona, nor was New York. Texas kept them afloat. But by the time the national economy picks up a little bit more, now we're competing at Kohler, at the manufacturing plant, because California's on fire, and Florida's back selling, and Arizona's back selling. So the price of the toilet has gone up. Remember in 2008, in the recession, we lost half of the construction jobs. The workers went back. There was no work for them, so they left us. And when they came back, they went to Eagle Shell. They didn't go back to doing sheetrocking and framing and painting and tile work. We have a shortage of labor in the construction side, which increases the price of a house because the price of the painter is more than ever, the price of the light is more than ever, and the price of the wiring is more than ever. So housing prices have fairly consistently risen. Land prices, which were relatively stagnant for a period of time, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, had disproportionate increases. We would have $10 land in 9 months go to $20 land, and 9 months later go to $40 land. So when you build this townhouse on what should have been $20 land and you paid $40 for it, you built townhouses that would have normally been the range from $279 to $379. We went from $279 to $499 to $699 in the course of 24 months. The market couldn't absorb that large of an increase of that price point throughout our city. Housings, went from $250 to $275, from $275 to $300 a foot. I mean, normal price adjustments. Townhouses overbuilt, saturated, going to be there for a while. May kick out of it at the end of the summer, but probably by the end of next year. If I was a banker, I'd still be a little nervous about loaning money on townhouses and condominiums. Very hard to finance land today. Single family houses, I think, are faring fairly well over there. we will see when we get to it that we're doing fairly well both in the existing home and in the new home side. There hasn't been significant fallout necessarily, even in new construction that you might have thought that there was. Minor adjustments, but not major adjustments. Overall, for September, when we compare to September of the year before, pretty good, I think. Let's go one more. If we go prices and price per square foot, same thing. As I indicated, the price per square foot is consistently edging itself up. It hasn't fallen off dramatically. Here is the total amount of inventory. Inventory is supply and demand, much like anything else. The highest number of listings ever in the history of the multiple listing service, 24,000 listings basically today. Only 5,700, or about 20% of that, is truly new construction. 19,000 of it is existing homes on the resale market. This guy down here is motivated to sell. He's paying interest every day on an asset that is worth less every month he doesn't sell it. This guy is more motivated. This guy over here is not as motivated. He's selling because they want to, for the most part. They want to move up, they want to move over, they want to move down, but they don't necessarily have to. They don't have the same amount of pressure that you might have in a normal deal when it's just truly speculative building over here. And we'll show how that relates later on. But these guys don't have to sell. They want to sell. And so they're willing to stay on the market longer, and they're willing to hold out for their price a little bit longer than these guys. So remember, about 80% of the market isn't as motivated as you think. It's only, they will sell this house to buy another one, but if they can't sell this one, they're not going to buy the other one to begin with. So remember the amount of inventory that's really tied to new construction versus existing home sales. Let's go on to another one. Total number of sales year to date, same thing. I mean, you're kind of seeing what I talked about before. This is just adding it all up for year to date. Overall, statistically, we're doing about as well as we did before. The thing to remember, first 6 months of 2015, the world's on fire, right? We're setting records at January through July of 15. We weren't necessarily setting all those same records in July of 16. So, I mean, to hold our own against what is the single best year in the history of real estate with $40 oil versus $100 oil, pretty resilient in my world. And when we really look at it, and we're going to break it out in a moment, you'll see that in the areas that we sell, we're doing better than ever before. So let's go and show that. We don't even need to stay there. Let's keep on going. No technical difficulties today. This is, and we're going to probably.
We're still loading it.
We're going to load it. Okay. So this is that summary again. Go down just a little bit. This is where I want to show us, and you'll have this if you want this. We'll be able to email this to you. Here is the single best year in the history of mankind. Over here, July 2015, 897 units. Okay. Never had we sold that high before. And got to go back down a little bit. So when we're in 2016 and I go and compare July to July, of course I was going to be down. I mean, there was no reasonable expectation. I knew the headlines were going to be down when we compared to some of those months. It had nowhere to do but down. But when I look at truly the headlines, I say, okay, now I want to go compare to September of 2015 did worse. Okay, it did about the same as September 14. But by the time we compare October 15 to October, we were already down about 20% here. We were down about 15% here. We were down about 5% there. So we're fixing October, November, December. We're going to be able, I think, to show some positive signs where the increase in sales are going to be 10 to 15%. I'll show you even how the pending sales, the pending sales today in September compared to September, we're trending up in these numbers. So last month, 6,800 versus August, down a little bit, but I mean, overall, the number of pending sales is pretty good in my world. You see the price per square foot held firm and gone up, but certainly the amount of listings where we were averaging 15, 16, 17, and 14, this is what created the bidding wars. I would tell you that 15, 16, 17, 18,000 is disproportionately and unbalanced in favor of sellers versus buyers. And it was creating tremendous stress. People they wanted out of the market because they did not want to be in those bidding wars. You bid 5,000 under the price and they laugh at you. You bid the sales price, they laugh at you. You bid 10,000 over the price, they laugh at you even more. And you just get out of the market. You go and take your house off the market and you say, I'm going to wait until it's a better time to buy. These numbers were not healthy. They really were not healthy for my industry. These numbers are probably healthier. And I am here to tell you, I think we need to get used to 23,000, 24,000 units available for sale. And it's going to be more balanced into what is a normal market based on this inventory and the amount of sales that we're going to have.
Just the area you're talking about?
This is all of the area. This is all of the city's inventory here. I did not just break it out, but I'm going to show you by market in just a second. Okay, so 14, 15, the numbers are up here. 16, I think we're fixing to start trending a little bit better for future headlines. Okay, so when we go and look and break it out, next slide. Okay, so I want to just take area 4. This is east side. This is for just September comparing last year. Area 4 sold more houses this year than last year. Area 9 was down by the 7 houses. Okay, Area 16 was up. Area 17 was up. Area 22 and 23 down by 3, up by 18. The net effect of those deals were 40 more houses sold in those 5 areas in 2016 than they did in September of 2015. In the areas that we focus in, inside the loop, instead of them being flat, truly the number of sales was up. And if you go back again, you got to keep in mind, here's area 4, a $200,000 kind of neighborhood. Heights, a $400,000 neighborhood. Montrose, a $700,000 neighborhood. Westview, a $900,000 neighborhood. A $900,000 average over in Spring Branch, and a $1.1 million median average price over here in Memorial. Seem to be doing just fine in the $200,000 market, the $400,000 market, the $700,000 market, the $1 million market, the $1 million market, right? If every one of those sales is up over the previous year, I can't say that the sky is falling in any of those markets. I would tell you that while it is more balanced, and while it takes longer to sell a house, and while the people have more choices, the number of sales is very resilient. It's doing just fine. Okay? Go and if we added the year to date of these sort of things, so how are we doing? Area 4 is up, area 9 is up, area 16 is up. 17 was down, was kind of the most curious thing. They were faltering a little bit in area 17, which is basically West G-Brace. Some of this, I think, is tied to the flood, and that area that was impacted by the flood can't sell a house when you have a flood going on. Even if you wanted to, it caused a little pause over there. I think if we adjusted for the flood, you would probably have seen something normal over there. So remember, you got to extrapolate all the information. Basically, Spring Branch selling about the same number of houses, more in Memorial. Even though the inventory is significantly higher in these areas, you can't sell what you don't have. If I'm a farmer and I only produce 20 bushels of corn, that's all I can sell is 20. I can't sell 25 bushels when I don't make 25 bushels. We couldn't sell a larger number of houses when we didn't have a larger number of houses for sale, you know? So the more houses for sale, the more you can sell. But year to date, in all of these areas, we seem to be doing just fine. And first firmly believe that when we add in the numbers for October and November and December, you're going to see year-to-date increases in 2016, that it will be the best year ever in the history of the world in these areas. I mean, I don't know how to make it any clearer. We're comparing to when oil was at 100 and it was a boom. We're still beating those things. The average price is going up, the median price is going up, and the number of sales is going up. How much clearer can you be that things are pretty good? I don't want to be insensitive to the people who are having a trouble selling their house, and it doesn't mean that I can sell your house tomorrow in one day. Let's make sure that I'm clear about that. It's going to take longer to sell houses. The consumer has more choices, so they're going to choose the best house. I do analysis in the Heights all the time, especially the high-end market. In the high-end market, over $1 million, the ones that sell are the nicest, highest price per square foot. The $365 foot houses sell, and the $275 a foot house doesn't sell. And you would think, well, it should drive the prices down. If the consumer has choices and it's a brand new, shiny, spiffy, nice house, or it's the 10-year-old house with a plate glass mirror and cultured marble and travertine backsplash, the buyer will pay more for the brand new one. He's got plenty of money, and at 3.5% interest rate, a couple $100,000 is insignificant because he doesn't want to go through the hell of remodeling, and he doesn't want a 10-year-old house. He wants the brand new shiny house. Okay, so overall, statistically, I think we're doing fine. I mean, I think we're personally, I think we're doing quite well or whatever. So I want to cover a couple of areas. I'm going to open up to some questions and stuff, but I think we will consistently get better in 2017 for a number of reasons. First of all, permitting of housing, a new residential housing, is all fairly significant. We're off about 32, 33% of projects being permitted. This is single-family housing and duplexes. It's not counting apartment buildings, not talking about high-rise condominium projects or anything. Remodeling permits are up 94%, and I think that's truly a result of the floods. I mean, those are people who got permits and have in Greens Point and in Meyerland and Bel Air and those areas, and that's why I think you're seeing this increase in residential permits. But true new residential construction is off 32%. Most bankers, most builders didn't want to start a lot of houses in the last year, which will help correct the balance of inventory. If we have those 5,700 units throughout the city, we really extrapolated out and take area 4, 9, 16, 17, 22, 23, there wouldn't be that many to speak of or whatever. And we're not going to be replacing a lot of those houses in January, February, March of 2017. We may start some houses in the near future as a whole, and they come online in the fall, but no builder really wants to list a house today. The banker might want him to. The builder wants to wait and see if he can get $10 or $25 a foot more later. That's what he's going to do. So he might start the construction, but you're going to wait to put it on MLS, and you're going to wait to take a buyer because you perceptually, if you're building, you think the market's going to get stronger. No one's building if they think the market's going to get worse, right? You're going to hold on to your listing, and you're going to list at the end of 2017 and hope for a higher price per square foot. So permitting off, City of Houston. This is year to date. We'll see how we do the last quarter, but this was basically through yesterday or through
end of August.
End of August. Okay. I think the most important numbers for us to follow is probably the number of people who live in Houston, Texas, the population, and the job deal. We have lost a significant amount of jobs in oil and gas, there's no doubt. We, in theory, have picked up all of those jobs. We have a net increase of jobs so far of the last 12 months. We have an increase of 14,200 jobs. Okay? They probably didn't pay as well as when oil was at $100. Probably not going to have the same amount of bonuses. Probably not going to buy $200 bottles of wine at Tony's. They're going to buy $30 bottles of wine, and all that's okay too. But the reality of it is, follow employment. Follow those numbers, and it's going to probably be, if we are gaining people in the city of Houston, then the housing market's going to be fine. If we lose population and we lose a net loss of jobs of any significance, we're going to have a problem in housing. As long as you gain population and you gain employment, we're going to be better. So far, and there wasn't a great increase last month. I think there was only a 500 job gain in August or whatever. But compared to what they thought it was going to be, we've in fact done better because we've added jobs at a rate higher than people had anticipated. And we certainly didn't lose jobs. We have a net increase of jobs. Okay? My little electric meter. This is all, we added electric meters. The number of people who have an electric meter, we added 49,000 meters last year. And year to date through September, we've added 40,000 electric meters in 2016. We added October, November, December. I will tell you that we added people. Got to be at least 2.5 people per electric meter, right? When someone moves into these things, it's not just single people. Who are adding people to our city, then it's contributing to a solid single-family housing market. Shout out percentage point there. Okay. Elections. People ask me all the time, what is the impact of all the elections? No one knows who's going to win. No one knows. The world just doesn't know between the Columbia vote and the Brexit vote. You can't really even tell what the polls say. But I would tell you, we've done analysis of all of these elections over the last 20 or 30 years. And it probably doesn't matter who wins. We historically have done well in housing in Houston, Texas, immediately following that. And you've got to remember, I went back. You got Republican with Eisenhower, you got Democrat with Kennedy. You got Republican with Nixon, you got Jimmy Carter over here. You've got Ronald Reagan over here, and then you've got Bill Clinton over here. And then you've got Bush over here, and then you've got Barack Obama. These are pretty extreme volatility in these elections. And it's very volatile right now. But I would tell you that no matter if it was the Republican or the Democrat, afterwards, we've seen a fairly solid gain. So I will be glad when the election is over and we can move to 2017. And I think there won't, we all may have to leave, but provided that doesn't happen, I think it will be a positive spin on housing for 2017. Who really knows? Okay, I'm not going to linger on the election effect. Here's some things I want to point out. We've talked about this one last time. This is the economic vitality of the city. We've studied it as a whole, and this is combining property values, crime statistics, obesity, education, foreclosures, all of these sort of things. We've talked about this before. The city is relatively healthy from downtown going west. Heights, River Oaks, Memorial, these sections, very healthy. These sections over here are economic opportunities. The north side, the near north side, the third ward, sunny side, and all of this section is poised, I think, for an equity shift. People, my children at 23 and 24, are not going to be able to afford to live in this section. Teachers, firemen, policemen, nurses are not going to be able to afford to live here. I don't think these properties are going to decline. What happened is we're going to have to increase this section over here. So we've been talking about investing in the future of Houston into these areas. Okay? We've talked about this map before. Next, what we've done is gone and said, okay, let's look at some of these areas and study how we have demolished houses, but we haven't infilled with the housing stock yet. So this would be, what is this, Oak Forest? Here's where Oak Forest has demolished houses and rebuilt the houses, okay? And they've done a very good job. They knocked down a house and they rebuilt the house just fine. And they said, what skews my statistic all the time, because the Chronicles print these 5 pages and they'll have Woodland Heights, and they never take into account when they say we're up 15% in Woodland Heights. We tore down a $500,000 house and we sold a $1.35 million house, which was a 250% increase. If we take that one out of the year, and there's many of those houses that I sold in that same year, we didn't even really have that increase that they're talking about, right? I want to compare apple to apple. I want to see how the lot fared going from 500 to 525 or 500 to 495 versus telling me that I had this inflated increase of property values because of the rapid new construction in a particular area. But of course, it's one of those examples. You tear down a house for 350 and you build a house for $1,000,001. You sell it in the same calendar year of the MLS. It skews their statistic up pretty rapidly. They have demolished houses and built them rapidly here, as opposed to the third ward, where we demolish a significant number of houses, all of these things in red, and we don't fill in with any housing. We're waiting. We're on pause over here. We're the bigger map that we had, the orange that we used yesterday, that we have. So when we went and looked at, see if we can get here. Might take us a while. There's ample opportunity for affordable housing and infill housing in our city. Not everyone can afford $1 million. Not everyone can afford $500,000. But there's ample opportunity for builders and investors and people with just a little bit of speculation to go into the north side, the east side, and the southwest side and invest into our city. And he'll pull up the map. It's pretty astonishing when you see how this works. Where we're overlaying new construction and where we're not. Let's see how fast we can get here. But I think if I had my 24-year-old child needs to go buy something up in the near north side, needs to go to the east side, needs to go to Sunnyside and, buy the house they can afford, rent 2 rooms to other teachers or whatever, and try and do exactly what we did over here. We bought a house for $100,000 and had to rent out a room for $400 in order to make the payment work. So this is, Kendra does a very lovely job. We're happy to have their maps. Back up just a little bit more. This is the red is showing you basically where we demolish houses, and the blue is showing you back where we infill the houses. And you can see we're not going to be able to have those same increases statistically in these areas. We've torn down about all we can tear down for 500 and replaced it with the 1.35 million. So we're not going to see the same growth in 17, 18, 19, and 20 in these areas here because we have no ability to do it. We're not going to tear down a $1.2 million house. But here we have ample opportunity to go and double and triple and quadruple the number of houses that are there and the appreciation of these areas. We have to work on crime and safety. We have to work on jobs in these particular areas, but it's coming. I mean, the city is addressing the inequity of the city and how it works. But these areas, which have been high performers, are going to soon be replaced with some of these other areas because this is where you can go and build. You're not going to be able to build here, not any more land to build. So we're going to have to go, just like those suburbs at Cinco Ranch, we're in section 48 now, because we've already infilled section 1 through 47, right? So you just got to go out 1 more mile of Rice Farm, take that away from the Peaty Prairie and build a few more houses. That's how they do it. Here, we're going to have to go back and say, these areas are too close to where people want to be. And I would go and say also, the #1 issue impacting both the value of homes and the determination of where people want to live is the traffic, guys. It's those people coming in. They do not want to sit an hour and a half in the car on the way to the Woodlands and an hour and a half back. I mean, that's 3 hours out of their day. And so people will continue to look at these areas as an area of high opportunity. And investors and people and realtors need to keep looking at these deals and take off these rose-colored glasses. Damn it, every house I sold right here had bars on the windows, pink asbestos siding, a chain link fence, and a Doberman pincher in the yard in 1996, 7, and 8. Remember, they weren't charming little bungalows over there. They were all rentals. There were people doing math. I mean, that's what we were doing over here in the late 90s, and it didn't take too long for people to figure out pretty damn close to some stadiums when they moved downtown. And all of a sudden, this mindset of stuff, instead of moving, Minute Maid and Toyota sending these things out, you move them here, and you got 7 minutes from that place. And we evolve. There's ample opportunity in these areas to do the exact same thing. A little bit of vision. be surprised what removing some bars and pulling up some pink carpet will do. Pretty amazing stuff underneath it. So I continue to promote there as opportunities for us to expand there. Okay, some of these takeaways, I want to make sure that you're clear. Despite the oil decline, the housing stock and the housing market is very resilient and has done just fine. With the balance of the market, though, I have a buyer from Mexico, wants a $2 million house, modern, somewhere around Montrose, would like it to be somewhat walkable to anything, Kirby or something. There is not, despite these 24,000 homes that are for sale, there's not a $2 million house that I can sell this guy that's worth anywhere near $2 million. There's one in Glen Cove that's leased until August of 2017. So it's going to stay on the damn MLS now for 450 days. He doesn't want to buy a house today and not take possession until September of 2017. Does not want the one on the corner of West Main and Greenbrier. Does not want the one that backs to 59. Does not want the, we're not going to take the one with 39-cent porcelain tile in a $2 million house. The guy has choices. Remember, he doesn't have to buy a house. But when you look at it, you'd be surprised how hard that is to sell. You wouldn't buy, and there's about 12 houses. You think, well, that's a one backs to the new apartment complex on Kirby right there across from Carrabba's. So your backyard is a 37-store apartment complex. Do you want to pay $2 million for that? No. I mean, I understand why some of that inventory is going to linger onto the market. Well, you'd be surprised how hard it is to find an $800,000 house in the Heights that's acceptable to live. Can't find one. Yet we have this inventory. Inventory is the story. And I have plenty of buyers. We have more buyers than we've had in the last year. And I don't have any houses for them. But the buyer's going to be more particular. I mean, the builder needs to know this. I went on a listing yesterday, and it's a 10-year-old house. And there's dog crap everywhere, and the floors are scratched up, and they got sponge-painted walls in the dining room. It's going, I will never be able to sell that. It wouldn't matter if they lowered the price $100,000 or $200,000 or $300,000. The buyer will buy the white, shiny new one with Carrera marble and subway tile all day long, because there will be one that will pop up. You're going to wait 30 more days in order to get it. I explained the other day, if I'm selling my car, I don't go to Burger King and take my wrapper and throw it in the seat and spill my Coke, and then try and sell the damn car that way, right? Maybe you could sell that car in 13 and 14. Today, you know what you have to do? You have to shampoo the seats, and you got to go wash the car at the car wash and make it shiny. And when you wash the car, now you find you have a cracked windshield. You're going to have to fix the damn cracked windshield. People aren't going to buy it with the cracked windshield. They're not going to buy the old house with peeling paint on the front porch. They're not going to buy it with 15-year-old travertine backsplashes. They're just not going to, because they have choices. The sellers, as the real estate world, we need to be painfully honest with the sellers. Take your house off the market, or you're just wasting all of our time. You're not going to sell that house in this kind of market with this much inventory. And I don't anticipate the inventory going down. I think as the opportunity rises, more people will list their houses when it's a better time. No one wants to list when it's a bad time. And I think you will see the houses that were taken out of the market and putting into the rental pool, they will come back online. And so you're going to, we have the opportunity for the increase of the inventory to stay about the same. I don't see the inventory reducing. I think quit worrying about the supply side and let's increase the demand. And the way to increase the demand is to make sure the headline is out there and there's accuracy up to the buying community of it is still a good time to buy. Every one of these people that were not going to buy a house in 2005, 6, or 7 because they were going to wait for the prices to get cheaper have waited until they have priced themselves out of the market. The prices continue to rise. The commodity of that toilet is going to continue to rise. I do not think it's going to go down, nor do I think the price to paint a house is going to go down. The only thing that probably is adjusted is land for the townhouses, which probably makes the next round of townhouses cheaper than the ones that they were building. Interest rates will rise. We know that they will. I've been saying it. I've been called a liar now for the last 5 years, but they have been zero for way too long. And it will impact someone. So as we take the $200,000 buyer over here at 3.75%, and the interest rate goes up from 3.75 to 4.5, or 4.25. Go down just a little so I can see both. You know, so this guy's payment went from $740 to $787, a 0.5 point increase of their true interest rate. When the Fed raises their basis rate by another 1/4 point, which they should do possibly next month, mortgage rates have already adjusted for that increase already. We're not going to see a 1/4 point correlation already. I'm telling you, they've already adjusted for this first round. I think we've been anticipating this rate increase, but they will. You know, the next round when they raise it another basis point of a 1/4, you're going to start seeing some interest rate. I remember when I started, we all thought 7.5 was a great number. We all ought to think 5's a pretty good number over there, and it's just been artificially kept low. I mean, I get them every day. You still get 3.5% interest all day in mortgage today with normal credit and down payments. So that guy, the lowest guy's impacted probably more so than the higher guy. You take the $400,000 guy, and his payment is $1,481, and it goes up by about $100, and the $800,000 guy goes from $2,900 to about $3,200. You got to think if you've got $800,000, you can afford another $150 to $200 a month. So they will go up, but I don't know that it's, you know, they're going to have to go up pretty significantly, and I don't see them going up that significantly in 2017 to begin with. So, resilient housing market, single family, must look beyond the headlines. You've got to extrapolate a little more information than not just the headline. I mean, we love the headlines because it gets people to read things, but I mean, you've got to get down to the bulk of the story and say, what does it really mean? We've talked about replacement housing and where it's going to be. It's not going to be in the same traditional neighborhoods that it's always been in. It's what we're going to have to look to other neighborhoods. Number one thing to watch is job and population. Continue to watch job and population. When we have significant job losses and loss in population, we'll have another talk up here. Election, I don't think major impact, interest rates, and the importance of understanding traffic and how it's impacting today that buyer and their decisions about what they want. They want walkability. What that really means is they know it's 98 degrees. They don't want to drive so long. Walkability to them is a shorter commute in their car. It is not walking. It is truly not walking. I mean, I'd like for it to be walking. I'm a huge proponent of it, but I'm a realist. It is the shorter the Uber drive. That's really what it means. It wants the ability to be 5 minutes from wherever you want to be. It doesn't mean you're necessarily going to walk there. So, I mean, that is definitely impacting our city. Questions, comments? Yes, sir.
The near north side, they call it North Village, 5th Ward, 3rd Ward. When I drive around, I look at different properties. I'm seeing more of the detached 3-story.
You're seeing some immediately north of downtown. I think, you know, I'm a huge proponent of minimum lot size. I think it is a tool in the toolbox that neighborhoods need to employ quickly in order to preserve the character of a neighborhood. I'm a huge proponent. We've done a phenomenal job of dealing with that in Lindale. This section up here has predominant minimum lot size. We've done an amazing job over here in Brooksmith and Monty Beach in that area. I mean, we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of homes protected. Doing a fairly good job right in this little section. Remember, I'm on the planning commission, so I get to see what happens every week. But you know, you have to have some infill housing where there were large industrial tracts or something. You're going to continue to see townhouses and 3-story townhouses
in those new areas. Are those attached townhomes?
I would I would be perfectly honest. The guy who makes the most money selling the car is the guy who sold it the first time, not the second time.
Yeah.
So the developer makes the most amount of money. There is a trade-off of the quality of life. All of my career, the young couple has had to decide about a 1,200 square foot bungalow or a 2,400 square foot townhouse. Yeah. They made more money in buying the 1,200 square foot bungalow. Honestly, they did, but they couldn't live in 1,200 square feet, and they could stay longer in the 2,400 square foot townhouse and invite their friends over. And they chose less appreciation because all things basically have risen, depending on the timing in which you sell them. But yeah, honestly, you're going to have greater appreciation. every day in my world, there's fewer houses, right? You tear down that house and you build 6 townhouses in its place, you get more townhouses and fewer single family housing. So just the sheer investment, I would honestly always say the single family house is the better buy. The townhouse is a function of timing. So long as they can replace that house at the same price, you're upside down. The value of the dirt and the properties have to continue to increase. I always would say, look for something unique. A 2-story unit versus a 3-story unit. Something with first floor living versus second floor living. Anything with the yard. If you just look a little harder, I'm telling you, you could almost find it. If you're on, but those townhouses on a hiking bike trail across from the park, Buffalo Bayou Park, or any park, I think is a great opportunity for people to live at a lower cost per square foot and greater quantity of square footage. There's a trade-off, and there's a reason people do it. And I get it, it's lower maintenance than the other. So the maintenance cost has to be a factor into that deal also. But they're only a good buy in the long haul, not the short haul. You can't buy one of those townhouses and expect to flip it the next year, or the day after, or 1 year or 2 years. It's much like the suburbs. It's probably going to take 3 to 5 years in order for you truly to even recoup the cost of selling and the washer and dryer and the refrigerator and the maintenance that you have to put in to repaint before you put it back on the market. But you got to live in 2,400 square feet for the same price you would have lived in 1,200 square feet. And for someone, that's important. Oh. Yes, sir.
Could you comment on the historic single family falling down historic homes and heights?
Sure I can. What we're talking about. I'm a realist that the single family housing market that is of the worst quality or condition, I might say, in a historic district is of less value to someone outside of a historic district. So if there's a lot in the 1300 block of Omar, house or no house, we're paying $510 to $525 for that today. And if there's a lot or a house inside the historic district that's a total redo, we're probably struggling to get $425, $450. Someone will want that house because they will want a smaller house. And in a recessionary time, people need 1,800 square feet more than they need 3,800 square feet in their mind. So, I mean, there's a buyer for it, but honestly, yeah, there's supply and demand. I can build a bigger house. I have less restrictions. I can do it quicker, all of the one outside of the historic district. Doesn't mean that over time, the people that invest in the historic district, there is a protection there that people love and they admire. And so it has always worked best in the neighborhoods where there was a consistent pattern of houses in North Hill Heights or Freeland or Glenbrook Valley. It hasn't overly diminished anyone. Where it has been diminished is where you have barely had 55% of historic houses left to begin with, and then they're sitting next to a block with 1 bungalow and 14 houses. Is the one little bungalow economically disadvantaged today versus the one not in the historic district? Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, they are. There's no way around it.
Gets rebuilt and expanded with this big thing in the back. Is it still got the same problem?
Since the revisions in October and November of 2015, you're not able to do the same amount of square footage that you could have done prior to that. So you're not able to start at 50% or 70%. You must start at 100%. And scale and scope are significantly more important. And the context area truly is the block face, what you're on, not the district. So you can't drive around the corner and say, well, they did it over, if you're in the 400 block of Harvard, you can't compare a house to the 900 block of Harvard. It doesn't matter. It only matters in the context area, which is truly the 400 block of Harvard. Not that there's not an exception. Historic districts preserve and protect the character of those homes, and they keep out the mega mansion from being built right beside you, destroying the quality of life if you consider the air and the trees and the birds and the butterflies quality of life, which people do. So, I mean, there's a purpose for them, but I mean, there's an economic reality of just supply and demand. The remodeled houses do better in historic districts because they are protected. They already, so they're redone. We get a higher price per square foot. To answer your question, it was the one that's not been occupied for 10 or 15 years that have hole in the floors that are 900 square feet. they are selling for less than the things that are not in historic district.
Okay, but then as you go through time on just those types of houses, have they been holding steady?
Totally agree that? In the historic district or the unremodeled?
Yeah, you just take that as a market compared to the non-historic.
The houses in the historic district that are, if we're not talking about the total fixer-up or the total value, they've done better. They have done better. We've held the value, both the new construction that was built in the historic districts and the ones that are totally remodeled. People want to live in that historic district, and it is a city, you know, an area with no deed restrictions to speak of and no zoning. It is certainly a protection of the character of that neighborhood. People want to live in that neighborhood. I'm a huge proponent of doing where there's overwhelming support. In these pocket neighborhoods is a great opportunity to preserve the character of that neighborhood. And everyone as a group can benefit from that. Because, I mean, I see it all the time. I can take a little pocket neighborhood here and there's 42 houses, and in the middle of the block, Love at Home builds in the middle and builds 3 towering townhouses now in what was a 1950s neighborhood. Sure, destroyed the value of that neighborhood. And the only real protection they probably had, could have had minimum lot size, but another one they have is to truly limit the, you know, nobody wants, if it's a neighborhood that's 1,200 square foot houses, who wants to put the 4,000 square foot house there? They do it because they can. We have this Texas mindset of, damn it, it's mine, I can do what I want. And I get the mindset, I'm a Texan. What the neighborhood does have a say, though, and it is called democracy, and if you can gather enough people, then it works just fine. I would prefer myself to see it done sooner than later. When 40% of the neighborhood's already gone and you start to do it, it creates a problem, I think, economically for the people with the smallest houses. Never really hurts the people with the large houses. Yes?
One more question on these. And like you were saying, that area is all concentrated now and you can't build. Now, building more out towards the north side and toward the Third Ward Museum District. We drive through like Third Ward, all those older houses that are, you know, nice colonial brick. Now, a lot of damage, a lot of them need a lot of work. So it's best to invest in those homes, put a couple $100 grand, $200 grand, so in those homes, bring them back, and then maybe resell them instead of buying I'm
a huge proponent of buying all those houses or whatever and keep those townhouses from being built in this place. What we need is people to buy them and live in them, enjoy their homeowners association and get a constable program and increase their schools and open a business at a restaurant and a wine bar and a coffee shop and a grocery store, and those neighborhoods would thrive. But it doesn't work necessarily for me to go buy it over there and put in a bunch of stuff and then try and flip it the next day to someone. It takes a sense of community. It's going to take a collaborative effort of people to bond together and create an identity, as we have in the Heights, as they have in River Oaks, as they have in Timber Grove, as they have in Lazy Brook. You're going to have to bond together. There's strength in numbers. And so
you like a good investment right now. Long-term investment.
Yeah, I think probably a lot of them you should buy and fix them up and rent them out.
Okay.
And hold on to them.
Okay.
We must, same thing with Heights. Until we dealt with crime and safety, we were never going to have increasing property value. So you band together and you get a constable program, and you start with one constable, and pretty soon you have 5 constables, and you wonder why your neighborhood's faring better than the others. It's because you have 5 constables. And that's truly why, I mean, it's not rocket science over here. I think it works just fine. You wonder why River Oaks is safer and Crestwood is safer? They have private patrols. And so I think you can never have truly increasing values without looking at it holistically. It's why, I mean, realtors need to be teaching in these schools. They need to be mentoring. We need to be increasing the participation in the schools if you truly want increasing property values.
You open your comments talking about a looming inventory. I think you want to say prices will probably still keep going up.
I'm just telling you that as the increase has gone from 11,000 to 16,000 to 21,000 to 24,000 over the last 20 years, inside these areas where there was not just another house being built, I'm not talking about Pearland, we've seen consistent rising prices and value. Okay? Some of it, I think, is inflated because they're talking about tearing down the $500,000 house and putting the $1.35 million. So I'm not sure it's always the large number that is being reported, but we've seen a consistent growth of values. I think you will continue to see that. you still got to remember the average person coming into my world who's coming from Bartlettsville, Oklahoma, Des Moines, Iowa, Baltimore, Maryland, Buffalo, New York, South Dakota, is selling their house at a higher price per square foot than what they're paying for in Houston, Texas, even in this geographic area here. We still are undervalued compared to the rest of the world for what they're getting. And so when they come in, they don't think it's high. We think it's high because we have a perspective of $200 a foot, and now 10 years later, we're looking at $300 a foot. And so, but we can't think of it that way. You have to think of it, and for a world-class city, compared to Chicago or New York or LA, they laugh at our prices. You know,
Yeah.
so we're talking about 10 to 20 cents on the dollar compared to those. I'm not even comparing to those. I'm just saying the guy coming from Gainesville, Florida, is still probably not going to pay any more here, you know, or less here than he paid there, and probably have a higher quality of life and house, I think. Not just a bunch of tiled floors and a canopy over the pool. So yeah, I think prices remain solid because we haven't seen, we had a little paradigm shift in some of those pricing after recession because they were artificially, the supply was so low of the inventory of the goods, the lighting, the plumbing fixture, the PEX system, the water heater, they were fairly low in 8, 9, 10, but they've risen in 11, 12, and 13. So it's just, you know, as a builder, I can't build the house for the same price that I built last year. I know that the price of that composite shingle is higher today than it was. The price of that pink insulation is higher today than it was because the economy as a whole for the nation is doing better. Good question.
We had a question on Facebook Live about asking how Houston market compares with some of the other major markets in Texas.
I think we've been hit a little more than the other major markets in Texas. I think the San Antonios and Dallases have fared a little better than we have. They didn't have the job losses that we had. They didn't have the high disproportionate amount of people really tied to oil and gas, whether that's their 401k that was tied to the stock, you know, we have not. Dallas, San Antonio have fared very well, I think, with falling oil prices, their economies and land values of inner city. If I'm in the inner city of San Antonio, I'm in the inner city of Dallas. Those are the ones that I probably follow most. Fort Worth done just fine. Also, all these kind of inner cities are faring fairly well. Border has fallen off some. But yeah, there was an interesting article in either the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times not long ago about all of these people who have gone from Eagle Shell. The employment was right over to San Antonio. So they picked up a fair number of jobs and people. And it's still, you know, the tourism is doing just fine there. $2 gas makes it more affordable to go to SeaWorld. And so, I mean, they've done fairly well. That region of Austin and Georgetown, my brother is the mayor of Georgetown, they're all booming over there. I mean, their economies are fairly booming. Maybe the second home market's not booming quite as much on the lake in Austin, but the overall economy there is doing fine. So I think we have lagged a little behind Dallas and San Antonio, maybe Austin. Been fine with Midland, Odessa, and Laredo, Bronzeville. Is there another real estate question?
Rentals.
You know, the rental market is softer than it was. There's less people, less affluent people out in the marketplace. There's certainly more rental units. Both those townhouse markets joined the rental market. Some single family houses joined the rental market. We flooded the market with the rentals. Same thing, people have more choices. It is softened in price. I think I'm seeing probably about a 15% reduction today. If we go back to the first slide, I mean, I thought it was fairly accurate what it was saying is the number of rentals in theory has probably done just fine because some people can rent when they can't afford to buy. But the rental market's softer. There's more rentals than ever. The prices have come down. It's still overall okay, but it's certainly not a boom in the rental market. And it's certainly the art of negotiation. You know, you're going to have, you know, before if it was $2,200, it was $2,200, and now you get an offer of $18,000, and you know you have to fight your way through there. So overall, you know, these rentals we're doing more, but we had more to rent. Remember, so I mean, it's the same thing. I think you can't only look at that. but the price of these rentals and how long it's taking to rent them and what we're actually getting is reducing. It's been softer. It's much softer.
What do you think is going to happen soon? Same thing?
Well, I think some of these houses get out of the rental market and get put back onto the selling market or whatever. And so I think we have a hell of a lot of apartments, both under construction and there. And that market, where they could command the very highest price that we've ever, are now not commanding. And so, you know, the incentive world, kind of like the building world, we had no incentives in 13, 14, and 15, and now everything has an incentive. Most of those places, I could go today and I could get you 15 months for the price of 12. I could probably get you in to move in for $100, not a lot of background check. I mean, they're happy to have some bodies at some point. So that's softening. And it's not only the reality, because I think we've done a pretty good job of tearing down Class C units and replacing them with new units and giving the choice. People want to live in the brand new one, closer in with all those amenities or whatever. So, I mean, in the long run, I think it's fine, but the higher wage people, we have not replaced with the same wages or whatever. And, you know, it's a way to test a neighborhood. If you don't want to buy into a neighborhood, you go and rent into a neighborhood or whatever. So I think in the long run, it's fine. I don't know that I would want to be the huge investor of a major apartment complex for multi-million dollars. But the single family, the duplexes in Montrose, the houses in Montrose, the nice houses even in West, I mean, we rented many houses here in the Heights for $6,500, $7,500, $5,000. That market's fine. People who wanted to test the neighborhood, they don't want to buy a $1.4 million house, have the wife hate it, and have to sell it the next year. That cost them $100,000, right? It's easier to rent for the $100,000 the first year and figure out if they like it or not. So overall, it's softer. You know, I just want to make sure that I'm clear there. It's a little softer, but it's not bad. It's just not booming. Okay, real estate question?
Interest rates in the past have usually generated a little bit more of urgency.
It immediately creates an urgency and then it causes a pause. It's a two-bladed sword there. So, I mean, yes, it's the initial phase is deal, and then people go on pause and say, well, I'm going to wait and save a little more money. It has historically hurt the lower priced houses more than the higher priced houses, in theory. So, I mean, no one wants to pay more on a monthly payment. They don't want to pay more taxes. They don't want to pay higher electric bills. They certainly don't want to pay a higher monthly payment. So, I mean, it's been artificially low for too long. I think it's not real over here. And I think we just need to get into reality. It's the same with the damn government. You can't lose $1 trillion every year and expect to have good roads and schools and a national defense. At some point, you have to pay for it, right? I mean, I just think the reality of it is people don't like to pay taxes, but they want more services, and we just need to do a better job of saying you can't have both anymore. They mortgaged my future in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, and damn, I'm tired of doing it. So we just got to pay a little bit more. So they're artificially low, and just, you know, I think the new reality is that we need to probably get used to
But if it jumps 0.75%, say throughout 17, that probably
it's pretty jump. It's a pretty big jump.
A big, urgent matter.
It just depends if they think they're gonna. The only sense of urgency is if they think they're gonna keep going up. They will go up from 3.5 to 4 to 4.5. If they think they're going to 8, it'll cause a lot of problems. I mean, they're not going to 8. I mean, they're just not going to. I think they'll linger there for a while at whatever it is that we go to.